So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with...
I'm Mikey. Oh, sorry. I'm Mikey from the Gloom In The Corner.
And we're asking some questions today about their upcoming album, Trinity. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Yeah, pretty, we're super stoked with everything, of course. I think, this is, compared to, the last releases, this has definitely been, a huge influx of people, and we're really happy with the response. For people who don't know, we're a concept band as well. So, the biggest thing that we've been seeing is a lot more people talking about the lore and everything, which is really cool because it means that my hard work and due diligence is paying off with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really cool to see. We're super excited to start dropping the album on the 28th. It is 28th, yep.
The album is fucking awesome.
Dude, it's insane. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Can you tell we lost our minds making it?
Just a little bit, but it I'm take the comparison with a grain of salt, but I compare it to the best parts of Ice Nine Kills the Silver Scream and a lot of parts of Crown of the Empire is the Fallout.
See, it's really interesting. It's really interesting that you say that because I love Ice Nine Kills. I love that record when it came out. I think that was my album of the year back in 2019. And it was kind of funny because that was kind of around the time that we started solidifying everything for Trinity. So we've been sitting on this album for a hot minute.
Jesus.
With the exception of a couple of songs. I think New Order hadn't been done yet, and I think a few other songs hadn't been done yet. And we have the whole orchestral side of things as well. And then Ice Nine came out with the whole cinematic, the cinema core kind of tag, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Oh,
but I'm also a huge fan of the Johnny Ringo trilogy as well. I should go back and actually listen to the Fallout in full properly as well, to see how much of it has actually subconsciously transferred over, because we get that comparison quite a bit. But yeah, no, I it's two names that I loved growing up, so I'm super stoked that made their way into the music.
Hell yeah.
So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yes. So as I said, we're a concept band. And our story focuses on three individuals from the way that the lore kind of works is we like to see it as a TV show, right? So all of our releases up until Ultima Pluvia in 2020 focused on one arc and one set of characters. This is kind of the start of the new arc and focuses on a new set of characters, who are actually characters who died in our old arc. And Trinity focuses on their journey through hell to come back to life in a Dante Divine Comedy kind of style tale. So Trinity represents the three characters. Of course, it also kind of represents the album as a whole. Because the way that we kind of like to see it is it's split up into three acts. There's a lot of symbolism around the number three as well. There's they have to obtain three items in order to perform this ritual and get back to the realm of the living and stuff like that. So there's a whole heap of different little pieces, I guess you could say, that represent the number three throughout the record. But those are kind of the main two. So the album art is set in the story from the point of track 9, Gravity, which is when they actually perform the ritual, and that's where the portal is and stuff like that, and they're fighting off a horde of demons and all that fun stuff. So that's where the album art comes from. And again, kind of funny story with the album art. I had that planned out 4 or 5 years ago. I knew exactly what I wanted the artwork to be. And then I think it was in November of 2020, I think Microsoft put up a post, was it advertising a new Minecraft expansion pack, and it is shot for shot pretty much a replication of that album art. I'm are you fucking kidding
You guys
me?
sat on the record for too long. First Ice Nine Kills did it first.
I know.
And then Microsoft did it first.
I think it was I think there's three characters. There's a portal. It's in the nether realm and shit like that. I'm are you fucking kidding me?
That's too
ridiculous.
Good. That's too good.
I know, it's wild. I was That's fine. It's Minecraft. Nobody's gonna care. But
So, do you ever want to make this into like a movie franchise? If you ever have
course,
like the
all the
budget for it?
time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Because
All the
just,
time.
that's so crazy. Because you have an entire fleshed out story. That's incredible.
Yeah. We I mean, we try to get as close as we can with the music videos within logistical what's the term? Just as close as we can get. So I think Ronan's probably like the music video for Ronan was probably the closest we've actually gotten to dropping people into that world. Pandora's Box does a pretty good job of it as well. But and to a certain extent from I guess from Heaven to Hell with like the green screen stuff at the end and introducing the characters. But yeah, we've always wanted to kind of drop people into that world or make them feel as if they're in that world as close as we can to getting it.
I love that.
Dude,
Hell yeah.
That's crazy.
Hell yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Yeah, sure. A lot of it started in I mean, like there are some songs which have kind of been on the back burner for a long time that have just been reworked, I guess, over time. Like I think Red Clouds has been around since before Gloom has been around itself, which is like 6 years. But there's just been different interpretations of it or different variations of it. But a lot of it kind of started being solidified, I guess, around probably 2019, 2020. Because we got to 2020 and we were like, oh, we need one more push before we start like actually sitting down and doing this record just to kind of like boost streams, boost numbers, like that kind of thing. And yeah, so like we kind of finalized everything throughout 2020 while putting out Ultima Pluvia because we already had those songs pretty much ready to go. Unfortunately, also COVID hit. So I think what kind of added to the batshittery, I guess, of Trinity is that because I had so much time in lockdown, I just kind of go over the songs like all the fucking time. And like there'd be little things added here and there. There'd be things like chopped and changed. It goes through cycles pretty much. And yeah, so like a lot of it was kind of finalized by the end of 2020. And that's when we started looking at producers and everything for the record because it was kind of at that point looking like we were coming out of lockdown here in Melbourne. For those who don't know, like we had extremely harsh lockdowns.
Yes.
I think we spent 285 days or something like that in lockdown, which is nuts.
It's like 5 days here in the US.
Dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Freedom. But yeah, so we started talking about it in I want to say December-ish. Because that was when we had Jeff and Tuck on board as well as management, and we were like passing it around to them. We're like, what do you guys think? Who should we go with, kind of thing. Like we haven't really been happy, for lack of a better term, with a lot of the producers that we've worked with down here. It's not to say that like they were bad, it's just like we didn't kind of achieve the goal every single time. And like we'd find that like things that didn't make it into final versions of songs did actually need to make it from a vocal performance, especially for myself as well. I felt like I never had the proper time to sit down and do the vocals properly in a way that I wanted to either, just because of time restraints and stuff like that. And so we pitched to one producer and we sent him everything, and he was like, look, I can work on stuff and I can produce stuff and I can help you guys with the soundscape, but realistically, you're just paying me to press record. Like I'm not really going to do all that much to these songs because they're so well thought out and fleshed out that I'm not sure how much you guys are actually going to get out of it. He's like, even from like the atmospheric and I guess production side of things, which is what that producer's more known for. He was even like, look, you guys pretty much had that down like 95%. Like I'm not sure how much like I'm going to actually be able to do. So we decided at the start of 2021, roughly, because I just got my new computer as well, and I have a degree in audio engineering, that we just decided to do everything ourselves. And like we conferred with our mixer and master, Jeff Dunn, who's done everything since Flesh and Bones. And he was like, yeah, look, I'm happy to handhold you guys like through the way. This is what like the kind of gear you should be getting. This is what you should be aiming for tonally. Like, this is how you should be editing stuff, like just stuff that I would do. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So we did that, and that's pretty much how it came to be. And I think we got the bulk of it done by, or bulk of the recording done by May-ish, because that was the aim. But then we had little things along the way that didn't actually get finalized until like January this year.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys are a concept band first and foremost. When you're writing, is it like you have like, does the idea kind of come with the music, or do you have an idea beforehand and then you write to that?
So they kind of come like in tandem, I guess. So I'll generally plot out most of the story first. And then I'll write the music based around the story, or what I want happening to be, sorry, what I want for the music to be doing in the story, to a certain degree. I think I was saying to someone the other day, like if you strip back like all the main instruments of Trinity, you'll find that there's like a whole like orchestral layer kind of under there that you could actually use as like a soundscape for a movie and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of what gives Trinity its charm, I guess, compared to other releases that we've had in the past. Is that there's like that whole foundation there. Like the songs wouldn't be the songs without everything going on underneath it. And so yeah, like generally when it comes to the songs itself, sometimes it'll be like lyrics ish first and then music. But most of the time, I want to say probably like 75% of the time, the music will come first before the lyrics, but the story will always come first before that.
Okay. So then since you kind of write to the story, does that help kind of build your track list as you go?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, it does kind of build the track list. So as I said, like I kind of plot most of the story out and what I want happening in each track beforehand. So like, I've started doing the next record already, and a few other things, and just kind of like plotting out what I want each track to be, what I want it to sound like. I get pretty meticulous with it to a certain degree as well. Like I'll start like deciding keys or tunings, like that kind of thing, and like references maybe to like other songs or like other atmospheric sounds or movies. A lot of it comes from movies and pop culture and stuff like that too, especially video games. That I kind of like base like as a reference off to kind of like get me going. Because what kind of happens is I'll try and like make like a version of a song that I think is pretty, what I consider to be like a rip of another song. And then generally what happens is about halfway through something will click and I'll go off and do something completely different from that, but it was inspired from that click.
Okay.
So yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay. Wow. So you have a lot of notable features on this album. How did those happen, and what was it like working with everybody? Did you present the songs to them? Did you write with them? How did all of that work out?
So I guess kind of given the nature of how we write and everything, and because of the story, we do work pretty closely with the guest vocalists in general. The only ones that we didn't really work super closely with this time around was a lot of the bigger artists like Joe and Lauren and Rio. Yeah. And Kirby. But we got tucked to kind of middleman it, and I like would give them a full brief. So like even though he's playing middleman, like there's still like a whole brief for them to like follow and stuff like that. But for the most part, like we're getting those vocalists on for them to do their own thing or to bring their own flavor. Like I feel like a lot of guest vocalists to a certain degree with certain bands will be like, oh, we want you to do like this one thing and like that's it. Whereas I'm just like, go bonkers with it, do whatever the fuck you want. Do what you feel comfortable with and make it your own effectively. Cause like that's kind of the point to me, like growing up from like those, I guess, kind of old school days, you could kind of say, of like when people would get guest vocalists on, when bands would get like friends on, and like they just be like memorable guest vocal spots because they're just completely batshit and that vocalist would just go nuts doing it. And so I very much wanted that same kind of feel, was that like, hey, like, for example, with Lauren's one, I'm like, hey, like, here's like the melody that like I've roughly penned out, like, here's a phrasing and stuff like that. Do what you want with it. And so she did, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
but yeah, no, like it's everybody else on that record, like we're friends with. So like Monique from Relica, she's a really good example of someone that we worked really closely with because she actually does voice acting throughout the rest of the record as well.
Oh wow.
So like all the female voicing and stuff like that in Not Hella Fury and Gravity and the Whisper in Pandora's Box, like that's all Monique.
Wow.
So me and Paul, our bassist, worked pretty closely with her. She was just like, oh, I just want to make sure I get it right and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, no, like that's all cool. So we had a couple of meetings about that. And then everybody else was just kind of like, I said, like, just do y'all thing. But yeah, so like we work kind of closely, like to a certain degree. I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to the lyrics and stuff like that because for story reasons that I have to be.
Yeah.
But as far as like them actually doing everything, like melody wise, everything, I'd say that they get pretty much like full run of whatever they want to do. Because it's, yeah, as I said to me, like I want that vocalist to do what they're known for, you know, kind of thing, or like what they feel comfortable doing. So
absolutely. I mean, obviously, as Glory said, all the features were insane, but when the album was first sent over to us, I went right to that Ryan Kirby feature because I was like, holy hell. Like, went right to that shit. And then listened to the rest of the record, but I was like, holy hell. So
Mans kills it.
Hell yeah. So what song on the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Fuck. I mean, like, contextually, I guess time-wise, Red Clouds, because it's been sitting in the bank for like 7 or 8 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, but I guess like it doesn't also really count because we've chopped and changed it so much. But I think the one that I spent the most time on and being meticulous about was Hail to the King. And it's also my favorite. Because like it's an 8-minute song of that shittery. Like it's the way that I mean, kind of like the way that I think about guest vocalists is the same way that I feel about closing tracks on records. I feel like that not all the time, but a lot of the time, you'll get to kind of a closing track on a record and it's just kind of like a throwaway song. For like a whole heap of various reasons. But me that's kind of like grown up on my chem and a lot of those styles of bands, or even like Crown the Empire is a prime example with like Johnny Ringo, is that like I like a closing track that actually feels like a closing track and that there's been thought and everything put into it. As opposed to just using like a throwaway song. So it's probably Hail to the King for a multitude of different reasons, from like story-wise perspective as well. But also just the song in general is kind of like, we kind of like looked at the song itself and we're like, how fucking bonkers can we make this song? Like, how far can Mikey push his ADHD and just completely fucking send it? And so I did. Shout out Frank Sinatra for That's Life at the end of Joker, because that was like, I was like struggling with the song super hard, and then I went and saw Joker and they closed the film on That's Life by Frank Sinatra, and I was sitting there in cinema and I'm like, oh, I know what I need to do now with Hail to the King.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So yeah, probably it's probably Hail to the King.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good pick. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace was at while you were creating this record?
All over the shop.
Not surprised.
All over the shop. I mean, I guess like the songs always, like, despite the fact that we have a story, like the songs always come with a, in real life, I guess you could say, juxtaposition to them. You know, and it tackles like a whole heap of different various topics. You know, like we have like stuff that tackles like anxiety, and depression and everything. Ronan pretty much covers that. So does Pandora's Box and Obliteration Imminent. You know, we cover like loneliness as well. That's like covered in Red Clouds. You know, we have like Gatekeeper is pretty much like a reflection of like the state of the world that we're kind of like being put into by older generations, I guess, to a certain degree. And just a lot of those kinds of topics kind of like ebb and flow out of the record to a certain degree. I'd say they're probably a little bit more buried, I guess, this time around compared to other albums and other releases, because the story is just so full. That it doesn't leave like a lot of room to kind of be like, oh, this is just an emotional response, I guess, compared to last records. And that's kind of something that I was consciously thinking of as well, is just like making sure that the story is getting across and kind of sacrificing a few little things along the way if I have to, which is fine. Like, I'm happy to do that. Like, there's plenty of songs out there about like anxiety and depression, and you know, In Heart's Wake got the state of the world covered for the most part. So did Straight from the Path with Euthanasia. Like, you know, like we're a concept driven band at the end of the day. Like, the main focus is telling the story. And if people start taking away other things from these lyrics and they find solace in these lyrics, then we've also hit the mark. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
With a big set of speakers in a living room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cranked in full so your neighbors hear it as well, and they stream it on Spotify.
Okay.
But yeah, no, probably either headphones or or like big speakers. Like, there's a lot in this record that kind of gets lost along the way, if you're using Apple AirPods.
Yeah.
Shout out Apple.
Or the speaker on the phone.
Or speaker on the phone. You can't hear Paul's gnarly bass tone if you're listening to it on your phone, because that's silly. But yeah, no, I definitely say it's also an album that you kind of have to listen to a few times, I feel like, to really like grab everything. And it's not just from like a story perspective, but just so like there's just so much in there. Like, we throw in little Easter eggs to pop culture and stuff like that as well, that a lot of people don't pick up on the first time around. You know, there's so many different layers or melodies and stuff like that that people haven't necessarily people that don't necessarily hear on the first run through. But yeah, I think like Coach, who was our vocal producer for this record, who like coached me with vocals, he's a longtime friend. He was like, the best way to listen to this record is by putting it on like a big set of speakers, and like a good high quality set of speakers, and listening to it through that, because that way you can hear like everything.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Hell yeah.
Love it. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words, no more, no less.
Fuck. Chaotic.
Okay.
Fuck. This should be super.
Is that one of them?
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Actually, no. I have 3 words here on my wall. Alive. Fuck.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I think that perfectly describes the album, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yeah, like, by the end of it, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Story-wise, like, everything alive. Fuck.
Fuck.
So, in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
No, as said, like, it kind of like, it's like a TV show. Like, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Like, there's a whole array of different emotions displayed and stuff like that on the album. I guess like the only thing that I can kind of say emotionally is just, you're not going to be prepared for what comes next in the record. I feel like that we have, it's such like a, all over the shop makes it sound like bad and chaotic, but that's kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is like each song is different from the last, at least I feel like that. And you know, you're not going to be expecting each track or each feature to be like what it is. There are some obvious ones that you can point out, like Rio is obviously going to be bonkers, and Joe is going to be bonkers, but like I'd say with everybody else, it's not necessarily going to be features that you expect as well.
Okay, perfect. So what is your favorite memory that you made while creating this album?
Uh-oh.
Fuck, that's a good one. I mean, my mind immediately goes to, we had this argument for 10 minutes about whether or not a cheese platter is a dessert or not,
Oh.
and we got it on video.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like solidified in our memory now. But yeah, I'd probably say that because it's just back and forth like the entire
Yeah.
time.
But
I
who
also
won?
got really who won?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did because I used to work in a restaurant. I have first-hand knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say probably the cheese platter argument is a really, really fucking good one.
Mhm.
I also beat the shit out of Paul's guitar because he had like we used his guitar for tracking the record, and it's like this custom built like baritone Telecaster that has a tuning bridge in it which makes everything keep tune. So
Mhm.
it's meant to make my life easy, but it fucking didn't. And it was just they just got to a certain point where we needed like noise feedback,
Mhm.
and I just grabbed the guitar and just quite literally beat the shit out of it in frustration.
No.
Oh no, not like hard. I didn't break it or anything like
Oh,
that.
oh
But
my God.
I just like
You just
tapped the
beat the
body
shit
like
out
a
of it,
whole
yeah.
heap. Yeah, I beat the shit out of it
Yeah.
to get that resonance feedback, and I was just like, oh, that felt so much better.
Yeah,
after
it was like
getting
you took
that.
this very nice guitar and quite literally beat the shit out of it.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you broke it. No.
No,
Okay.
no,
We're good.
no,
we're
it's
good.
fine.
Okay.
Well, it's not fine. It's still the Telecaster. But it still gave me a whole heap of trouble. But
Exactly.
at least I got to get some frustration out of it. But
Exactly.
yeah, probably those two. I guess like doing most of the vocals and stuff like that as well. I was saying that like for people who don't know, Coach or Stephen Canatelli. He's a band coach down here in Melbourne that kind of like helps a lot of local bands out with kind of solidifying their live set. And providing advice. Like he's been in the industry down here for like 20-ish years now, I want to say. Like he's been on the road since he was like 16 years old.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's an old man. He's also kind of like my dad. So we did the vocals together, and going into it, everybody was like, or everybody in the band was like, I wonder how much like Mikey and Steve are going to crack it at each other. And we only cracked it at each other the once.
Oh.
In the entire 5-week process of us tracking vocals. We figured out that we spent 150 hours together tracking vocals, and we only cracked it at each other the once, and that's because I was hungover the next day and I thought that I couldn't do something, and then he was like, no, just fucking do it, dickhead. Gave me a smack, and then like I did it in the next take, and I was like, oh, fair enough.
Oh my God.
That's impressive, man.
150 hours?
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys like not go like completely insane, like give up on music after all that?
Oh, he technically did go insane. There's a thing that we like to call music schizophrenia, where like it got to a certain point where like I have this as well, just as a writer, where you can hear melodies in the background that aren't necessarily there, and it's really good for writing out like different parts and stuff like that to kind of help build out the soundscape.
Mhm.
But he started having it with vocal melodies that weren't there. And we'd be listening back to stuff and he'd be like, hey, where's that harmony that we did? And I'm like, what harmony? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, we never tracked that harmony. And he's like,
What do you
I've
mean?
spent too much time in this room.
Oh my God.
So we quite literally sent each other insane, which I think is really cute. But like,
Yeah.
Love that.
God.
Love that. So picture this, you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
oh, fuck. What did we get last tour? I stopped and got Doritos and coffee.
Mhm.
I can't operate without my morning coffee. Let's see. We actually no, I have a perfect answer for this. On the drive between Melbourne and Adelaide, so for people who aren't Australian, every drive between each major city where we play is roughly 8 to 12 hours.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Christ.
Yeah. That's why touring Australia sucks.
That's why
Yeah.
touring Australia, there's 4 dates, but it takes a week to do the run at least.
Yep. It's real funny. I was talking to do you guys know a band called Weeping Wound?
I don't think so.
ring a
They're
bell.
from Florida. They're
Oh.
they're really good mates of ours. I was talking to Dylan, their vocalist, about it, and he's like, "Oh, we got such a long drive ahead of us." I'm like, "Oh yeah, where are you driving to?" He's like, "Oh, I'm driving 3 hours down the road." I'm like, "Fuck you,
Oh,
fuck you."
3 hours? Suck it up.
Oh, that's cute.
Right. Oh my god.
Anyway, in between Melbourne and Adelaide, there is a little country town called Keith. It's about 3 hours out of Adelaide. And they have country fried chicken, or Keith fried chicken, which so KFC.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
always stop there on the drive to and from to get food, and we always get fried chicken there.
Nice.
Okay.
Even our drummer Nick, who's vegan.
Oh.
He doesn't get chicken, but
Oh,
like he gets
okay.
food and stuff like that. But every time he goes in, he's like, "Fuck, I could break veganism today." I could,
He's like, I might do it, you know.
yeah, he's like,
Today
I'm
might be
getting
the day.
close.
The day
Yeah,
that you
they
guys,
might be the day.
the day you guys are in a bus and there's a bathroom right there, maybe he'll do it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe he'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Oh fuck. Fuck, that's a really good question. I wish Paul was
Thank
here for that question. Because yeah, him and Matt are like big foodies. They're like always constantly going out to eat to restaurants and stuff like that. Fuck. What was it that Paul said on his list the other day? It was a type of carbonara. It was like a type of spaghetti carbonara, I think he said. Fettuccine carbonara? That's it. So we'll go with that. But for me personally, we have what's called a halal snack pack down here. It's
Okay.
basically, do you guys have like kebabs and stuff like that, or gyros
Yeah.
over in the US? I can't remember. So, it's like a foam box with chips down the bottom with cheese, and then it's halal lamb and chicken, topped off with garlic sauce, chili sauce, and barbecue sauce.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
And it fucking destroys you.
I'm
Oh,
vegan
I
and that
bet.
sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. So you say there are vegan options as well.
All right.
Like,
Oh, there you go, Shane.
There we
Yeah.
go. Perfect for me. So
Yeah, you can get falafel ones. Yeah.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh fuck me, dude.
You're dying
So
right
many
now.
options. So many options.
Right?
Fettuccine carbonara. No, I'd probably choose my mum's spaghetti.
Oh.
Classic Chloe response. That's always been my number one spot in the last 25-ish years that I've been alive.
Fair enough.
As for a drink, it's probably a three-way tie between like a Coke, a vodka soda, or like an Asahi beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not just get all three?
Okay, we'll do all three then.
There you go.
If I'm dying, then fuck it, get all three.
Why
There you
not?
go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Mine. No, I'm kidding. That would suck. That would suck.
Right,
It's
just
like
going to hell
GTA
for a
on
second?
crack. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like GTA on crack. Fuck. If I could live in one fictional world for a week, where would it be? I'm tempted to say Harry Potter because of the amount of destruction that I would cause.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like a lot of this, like a lot of the arc focused around like a fictional organization that deals with like the supernatural and the paranormal. Kind of like the SCP Foundation. But like they're police officers as opposed to prison guards. So I feel like if I got dropped into that world, it would just pretty much be that. Like you don't need 7 books to kill Voldemort.
No.
A Glock will do. Like
Oh my god, it could have been over in book 1 if
it
you
could have
were
been
there.
over in 2 minutes.
Exactly. Wow. Wow.
So yeah, let's go with Harry Potter.
That's good.
That's crazy. You don't want to go to like a potion class or anything. You're just like, no, I just want to shoot Voldemort.
Yeah, like come
Why
on,
not?
come on, get it done. It'd be easy.
Exactly.
easy.
Get it over with.
Yeah, or maybe knives in Britain's case because they
Oh.
they're like us. They don't have guns.
True.
But Yeah, roll with that.
All right. So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Fuck. Tough one. It flips between red and green each day. Yeah, Christmas. It flips. Because I love red. You can probably see from my light up keyboard.
Yeah.
But also as a huge Halo and Doom fan and their armor color, I've got to go with green too. Fuck. Let's bank on red because everything else in this room is red.
But your walls are green.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds.
There you go. You got it.
Love it. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
October 28th, Trinity comes out. Please pre-order it. That's really it for now. That's all I can legally say. I'm not allowed to say anything else. But yeah, for legal reasons, I will stop talking now. But yeah, no, pre-order the album, pick up some merch. I think. Oh no, we do have a new Halloween shirt coming as well. That should be dropping next week, I think. So they're going to be separate pre-orders from the album, just because otherwise it's going to be a whole fucking mess, and Nick is going to lose his mind again. Organizing all the merch. So yeah, I think that's it.
Oh yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for now. This has been Mikey from the Gloom in the Corner, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.